when they're not working in the future. Yeah, let's get that. Bong, bing. Here we are. It's the local support meeting, and we have Xiaohong and Brent and Sam. We start my computer, and I was hoping to do that this morning, but then a colleague called with kind of like a GDPR crisis that had to be addressed, and I did not get to restart my computer, so it's working okay at the moment. Apologies in advance if it kind of blows up. I'll just, before we kind of like dive into other things, let me, oh gosh, things, wrong things. So you may or may not be familiar with the remind functionality in Slack. We have this sophisticated remind functionality that I think the SHF project started using, and we were like, oh, that's kind of cool, and it's sort of expanded. You can go into any channel, and I don't think you have to be admin to do this, and you can do remind space list, and it will give you a list of all the reminders in that channel. And you can see here, I've just done this in local support, and it has 2 reminders, and I have these like sort of 2 set up to try and alert the day before to say, tomorrow at this time, there'll be the local support meeting, and then 15 minutes before the meeting itself. You'll notice that these 2 are saying that the next occurrence is on June the 13th, which is wrong, because it would be 2 weeks from now. One of the annoying things about these reminders, although they have many great things, you can't edit them in place. So you can delete them, and you might be interested to just type remind list in local support both yourselves and see if you can see them, or if you can you have the delete option. What I am tempted to, oh, you can, Brent. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what I've done actually, in order to try and get on top of these is,
although interestingly, my list is a lot smaller than your list.
So some of the reminders are in private channels or in channel. I think this is to show me all of the channels where I'm in. So you're not necessarily in all these channels. So presumably it's not showing you the ones where you're not in those channels. But what I've done recently is I've taken to having like a document. I should probably check this into GitHub really, but like that this is all of the Slack reminders, because when I want to change them, I've been sort of copying and pasting. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. But so here I have like the syntax for these 2 meetings, and what I need to do is adjust these so that they will be the right date. And this is so like we've got the every 2 weeks thing, and there's various different ways of doing this. So the next meeting would correctly be on June the 21st, I guess.
Yes, that would be correct. Yeah.
And so this is the thing for the day before, but it would be to June the 20th, and we put 21st in there, and that's there. So conceivably, this is the correct update, but I won't be sure until I put it in. I'll save that. I will. What will I do? I will now see. Now I will need to delete both of these.
Yeah.
Like so. I would love for like the Agile Venture site, like for when we made a change to there, that it would like dynamically update what was going on here. Anyway, and I'll pop that in here, like so, and it will tell me next occurrence is June 20th. So that's my confirmation that that's going to happen allegedly at the right time.
And it told me that as well.
All right, that's good. So let's do this other one, hoping that that will get us in cycle. So, all right. So that's one thing that I don't have to remember to do later. And hopefully having shared that with you is something that I mean, like in the future, like I'm going to be, away in the summer and what have you, or less available. And so, if you see them get out of whack, you can
update them.
Hit them with a hammer. Yeah. The related thing, actually, what occurs to me is actually what I could do is I could go into Agile Ventures, our place where we store our documentation and notes and things, and I could put my entire list and have it there. So if anybody needed to refer to what's the syntax, if they accidentally delete it or what have you. Yeah. So where does it even go? We've got all of these things. Rather than dropping it on the thing, I'm going to pop it into their how to and put it in like Slack reminders here. Because this might be like, yeah, why not? Okay, let's pop that there. There we go. And that's now in version control. And I will need to like check out the repo and make sure that there we go. It'll probably look quite silly. But there we go. So that's that. So there's a reference to that.
Cool.
And I'll pop that in. Maybe just pop that in AV, the community. I just added, what is it even, like all the Slack reminder syntax to the AV/AV project. Okay. So, and my computer seems to be working reasonably smoothly. So that's nice. I guess we'll leave that there and go back to the LocalSupport page and do that thing. So then also you can close the list, but it's a little bit confusing. Let me grab a new window. That's not a new window. It's a new piece of digital parchment and say LocalSupport. And let us go around and think about things that are of concern. So Brent, you're here, it's wonderful. Anything on your mind in the LocalSupport vein?
Yeah, the only thing really is your update to the pull request last night, where you've got local errors on the click-through update for using Google Analytics. So I was pretty sure, I'm not on my Mac at the moment, so I can't rerun it, but I will do later today. But I'm pretty sure that when I ran the tests locally, they all passed.
Yeah, and it failed in CI. So it may just have been an intermittent thing. We can go and check that in a minute. And
yeah, but I did read the things that you sent through, and I'm not sure how what I did could have impacted it, because it seems to be a password is not matching.
That makes me suspect that it may well be an intermittent failure.
So
we can check that in a minute.
But
yeah. Anything else on your mind
for LocalSupport? No, obviously there's the Google API key thing this morning.
Yeah, so thanks so much for fixing that.
Yeah, well, I think it was probably my fault it broke in the first place, because I was tidying up some of my Google Cloud projects over the weekend. Right. And I did remove some projects, and I'm just wondering if the API key was part of one of those projects by mistake, because I created it originally for you. But what I can't understand is why I didn't get a message to say that that I needed to recreate it until like last night, unless nobody had visited the site between the weekend and
that seems like I think that we can probably say Google moves in mysterious ways.
Yeah, but
so I can also move in mysterious ways, but it's less impactful on the rest of the universe. Good stuff. Okay, yes. So we might review that.
The other thing with the PR, I think I did make a note of it. I made the changes so that it will hopefully work in Google Analytics. It's hard to test it though.
Until you actually put it in production.
Yeah. Absolutely. What I haven't done though is removed all the old code. Once we know it's working, then I'll do another request to remove the old stuff and delete the table and things like that.
That's fine. Yeah, I did the interim delete like yesterday as part of a review. So yeah, that sounds absolutely fine.
Cool.
Great. Yeah, we'll come back around on these. Xiao Hong, any top level things affecting you or thinking about for LocalSupport?
Well, the last time the last pull request I submitted, and you mentioned that we should create a ticket for the sign-in page, the legacy signing and the normal signing, the refactoring ticket, and I wonder, was that ticket created, or?
I'm not sure. We can check. I guess that's one that you're interested in working on.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's like the pivotal tracker maybe the pivot tracker doesn't reflect the current state of the actual code base. I mean, the other day
I'm sure there's inconsistency. Sorry, go
on. I mean, the other day I was looking at a ticket. It looked like a dependent boat failure, but when I decided to work on this ticket, so I go back to the code base and I found it was fixed. So I just moved the ticket to accept it. Hope it's okay. And yeah, so I feel like maybe it doesn't the pivotal tracker doesn't precisely reflect the current state of the code base.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it did precisely reflect it. And I could go into the reasons why. Obviously we would like it to. We want it to. We've got various reasons why it doesn't, that we could. But yeah, this is this would be a good. All of these things would be good to review. Yeah, anything else on your mind?
Yeah, I was working on on a ticket currently. I didn't feel I was blocked, so I think it's okay. I hope I can deliver it soon. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, which is the one that you're working on at the moment?
The adding the edit button. Yeah.
Yep. Great. Okay. Yes. So, yeah, and then things on my mind, I guess they include one, deployment, so Nico was helping out with the DevOps and deployment. He has got a job now and less time for that, so I'm behind on that. There's work that needs to be done there.
Is that to set it up in Azure?
Well, that would be one thing. So it could be about moving to Azure Doku, which would potentially save money and allow more flexibility. It's potentially it could be a big job. We will also lose some monitoring things, I think, or at the moment we're kind of we're migrating Met Plus from Heroku to Docker Azure, and it's sort of most of the way there. Nominally in my mind, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, let's get that finished and settled, and then we'll take all the lessons learned for that and do it for LocalSupport. There's nothing stopping us starting experimenting with this kind of deployment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you say, we might lose some of the free services that you get through Heroku. But aren't there some like there was one, and I can't remember the name, that's really good for Rails specifically, that you can host yourself. So yeah, we could possibly, is it Sentinel, something like that?
Maybe. Yeah, I think that there almost certainly almost anything we can do with Heroku, we'll be able to do it with Doku. For a lot of things, it's just the amount of time that it takes to set up and maintain.
Yeah.
As an unknown, you kind of. But yeah, certainly this would be a great thing to explore. Yeah, I guess the other thing that I'm thinking, brother, you've got in the background is that API test thing that you're.
Oh yes, yeah. I've set up another.
You have. That's right. So we'll
next week. Yeah.
Yes. So that reminds me. I've also got some new face-to-face trial people who want to work on APIs. So I'm considering about whether to sort of introduce them to that or not. I'm gonna have to.
Yep, that's fine by me.
Yeah, there's we'll see. The other thought that I had there actually related to that is I was thinking, I'm just trying to brain dump there, is we could effectively ignore all existing org data in Arrow HCN, because I'm thinking that basically nobody's updated it for over a year.
Right, so just pull all new in. Yeah,
and it's almost like the data is all at least a year out of date. We've got this sort of complex thing of like, oh, how do we work out which is like which thing and what? We could effectively just say like, you know,
Yeah.
people have not been bothering to update it. The charity commission data is always less than a year old.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, that maybe removes a hurdle. Okay. I mean, I guess the only other concern on my mind is about focus. There's the possibility that we might be, having some new funding come in for the site, or funding coming in for doing social prescribing in Harrow, and that maybe we would kind of try and integrate this site with it. But so, I mean, there's this general question of like, where are the important places to focus? Oh, I'm supposed to be. I mean, we've got the events feature, or the events epic, and there's like, to guide that, I should meet up with a client, particularly this person Alex, who does that side. There's also GDPR, which neither of you may be interested in, but we do have some things to do there. Sorry,
yeah, I've been involved in that with my company. It's massive. Well, it has been for the company I work for anyway, because that's what we do.
Oh, right. When you say that's what you do, as in that's actually you provide GDPR related services to other folks as well?
No, we provide information services to financial institutes, including
right.
personal data and things. So it's huge.
Right. Yes. Indeed. So yes. Anyway, right. So that's our little overview of stuff. There's certainly more than enough stuff, and more than we could kind of cover there. I guess just starting with Brent at the top there. So yeah, so this is the outbound click tracking thing, which we would love to get in place. Like to replace our own storing the data with ourselves and storing it with Google instead, which will reduce the pressure on the database. Now, okay, so I've rerun it. It's now passed, and it's just got this. I've noticed this, like CodeClimate seems to be giving us these, like it's saying that there's zero change in the overall total coverage, but the diff coverage was zero.
Yeah, that might have to, because obviously I had to delete some of the old tests that were checking for the so that might be why that is there.
Well, and I think it seems to me that this is a bit of a harsh test of anybody's pull request. Like, as long as the total coverage hasn't changed, I mean, like, can the diff really be tested completely in isolation? I mean, I guess if it's like, something vanilla Ruby or what have you, and it's like basically all the new code that's added has been tested. I guess in this context, it's kind of like maybe all of the different paths through this JavaScript are not taken, but I don't know, with Google Analytics anyway. So for us, I mean, this is relating to Zhang Hong's talking about refactoring tickets. I mean, one could open a ticket here to say investigate, the coverage issue there, but given that it's saying that our coverage is 92% and that there wasn't actually, it seems like it's silly to hold off getting this into production to find out if it actually works. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm tempted to go ahead and so it seems like these were intermittent failures because they've passed this time around. I'll just merge this and we'll get it out into production.
Cool.
All right. So that's going into develop. See, now if we had an automated deployment pipeline, just doing that merge could, for example, in 6 hours, it would go to staging, and then 6 hours after that, it would go to production. But that requires manual intervention at this stage.
I noticed that because when we got those API errors, I logged into Heroku, and I noticed that on the production app, there's a lot of GitHub automation errors showing actually in the Heroku dashboard. Right.
Yes. I mean, we've got a pipeline set up for local support.
Yeah, that's the ones.
These ones here. But this whole pipeline framework can make it easier to move stuff along the pipeline, but it won't auto. We did with Nico, we opened a ticket with Heroku. They don't seem to have anything in them, and we also reached out to Travis to ask them about it. There's various things available. None of them seem to quite do what we want so far. Right. I mean, it may be that we just have failed to understand what Travis or Heroku was telling us, or we just didn't find the right thing, or what have you. I mean, the interesting thing you see here is that we have we're running our pipeline really through Travis and not through Heroku.
Yeah.
And so Travis, whenever we push to GitHub, the Travis hooks on GitHub run Travis, and then it deploys to, so that having merged that pull request that I just did here will cause the Travis so the Travis CI will run now on develop.
Yeah.
Because the code's gone there, and assuming that the tests pass on develop, it'll get pushed up into this one. But you can run that all from within Heroku if you want to, but we don't.
Right. Yeah, got you.
And it looks like Heroku has their own CI as well, which I haven't used before. If you're interested, by the way, I worked out what these promote to staging and promote to production buttons do, if it's not immediately obvious, but or the wrinkle with them. So I could now, because this I think if I reload that, I guess the develop, it hasn't been deployed there. So like, even though I've merged that into the develop branch on local support, this is still, it hasn't yet deployed. So it's still the old thing. But what this allows me to do is very quickly move whatever is the GitHub commit here to staging or to production. Right. But it does so without, at least without better integration with Heroku, it does so without changing anything on GitHub, sorry.
Right.
So if you're in like sort of a bit of a fix and you must quickly move stuff around without too much downtime, this is very useful. But then you might find that your if you've got separate GitHub branches corresponding to each of these different stages in the pipeline, that they will get out of sync.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
So yes, sorry, I should be careful about just mouthing off on these things. We are, let's get back on target. Yeah, so right, that's, and the key action item there is that I need to Sam roll all latest changes to production, because I think we're getting a bit backed up. So that's then under control. Just to review the Google API key thing, thanks so much for fixing that. So I guess what would be ideal is if we were creating the key, well.
Yeah, so I was going to try and create it under my Agile Ventures account. Because once it's in there, I can then give access to the other members.
Okay, wonderful.
However, and I'm not an admin in there, so I couldn't go in and change it. So for speed, I just did it in my personal one.
Right.
But when you try and update or create an API key under that account, it's as if it's not enabled, and I get this, you don't have the appropriate permission to do it.
Okay. Creating of API keys for this is our AV emails. Okay, which could be just give Brent admin, and then
I can go in and because you can control who can do and who can't do it. Then,
create Google API key associated with AV account. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes. So cool. And then so we've got the local support DevOps channel, and then potentially also we want to put like little documents in like Markdown in the DevOps that we might find in the future for other people. But yeah, we'll get it. That will fix up first. Great. I'll just put a little thing there of Brent doc any DevOps in GitHub MD files. Cool. And anyway, so we're pairing on that, and nothing additional needs saying on that right now, I guess. So we can move on to Zhao Hong's issues. So yes, so this came up. So maybe just for context, we've got two different ways of signing into the site. So there is, if we go and look at the site, with birdsong in the background there, we've got, I think, this way, which is that the login pops up like this, and you have this, you can switch backwards and forwards, and it's all that sort of stuff. I think we also have what Xiaohong was referring to as the legacy login page. I don't know if I can. Is it? Can I just do? There's like also somewhere, like through some sequences. Probably I can get to it here. Can I? Yeah, sign it. There we go. There's this page here, and through some of the sequences of things that you might do in the site, conceivably you'll end up being redirected here in order to log in or sign in. Inconsistency in wording. So this is we can call this the legacy sign up or sign in or login page. Xiaohong, would you agree?
Yeah.
And you were saying one thing, might be to want to eliminate this page.
This one way to do it.
Yeah. I guess so yeah, there's definitely the danger that, and I think what happened to you when you were working through the Cucumber steps is that there was you weren't aware that there was sort of two ways of doing this, and that was confusing. Sorry, go on, Brent.
I think if you get rid of that, you could have issues with people who might have JavaScript and things disabled. Because I would guess for that pop-up to be activated, it's going to have to use JavaScript. So if they get directed to re-log in, we're going to have to get them to pop that pop-up out, and that might cause issues. Yes,
and so particularly from this site, from like originally, one of the whole things was this is like supposed to be working for people who are working on older computers, this and the other. It's an interesting point these days about, gradually the older computers are going away. Most people will have JavaScript. I think the big thing in the big context of the whole system is, I think what the client had hoped originally was that lots of people would be signing up and logging in to manage the data associated with their organizations. But basically, they haven't done that. I mean, that's the big thing that we've learned over 5 years of this project, is that, people are, at least for our scale and our community that we're working with, people are not going to be logging in and managing that. And at the moment, if the site's getting any traction, it's not from people logging into it. It's from people, browsing this and sort of, the numbers seem to be quite high, even though we've only got, I think, about a couple of hundred people visiting the site per month. There seems to be like at least a couple of thousand click-throughs on people going to look at the different volunteer opportunities. Although I'm not completely sure about is Google Analytics properly excluding just bots that are coming in and clicking on everything?
It should do, and there are, it should do, but you can. There's two ways of doing it. You can do it within Google Analytics, or you can also add them to your .htaccess file,
right?
And it will then ignore them.
Yeah. So there's and hopefully if we get that click-through thing going through Google Analytics, because at the moment we are not necessarily ignoring them because we're doing the tracking locally for ourselves. I presume Google Analytics is at least smarter than kind of quote we are in terms of excluding those bots.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
So sorry, I've kind of gone off track here again. But yeah, so the we've got this interesting thing about the different stakeholders. Like at the moment, people are not really using the login very much. So it's not kind of like a high priority, like in terms of making the site useful, like actually having the data coming in from, the organization data is up to date. That would be a huge step forward. Like, so one of our key stakeholders, who's my trustee, who's also the person who might be bringing in more money for the site, mentioned, in your organizations, you've still got my old organization from like 3 years ago, and it's not that name anymore, and what have you. And so, like, that sort of, he's like a what can I say, like a he's the Thanos of stakeholders, so like making changes to support him is kind of like a high priority, and increases the chance that we get funding in the future or what have you. So there's I think it would be interesting to kind of pick this apart one of the things that we would love to have in the site for the people who do log in is that it is a smooth process and it worked for everybody, but it ends up being not such a high priority. I don't know if I went ahead and made a refactoring ticket on this. I think partly reflecting that I was not imagining it to be so high priority. There's apologies, Xiaohong, I've chatted on. Does any of that make sense as context for what's happening in the project?
Yeah. Yep.
And I think I'm glad that it makes sense to you, Brent. Xiaohong, did it make much sense to you?
We can choose. If it's a problem, then we can choose another way to just to reflect the step definition.
Yeah, right. So that it's clearer. Yeah, because that was the particular point of pain for you was it was on, you know, you got kind of twisted up on the step definitions. So yes. So I'm not immediately seeing a refactoring ticket there, but please do make one, or I can go ahead and make one if you're unclear how to do that. Yes, particularly. I mean, I think we've got I mean, I really love Cucumber, and I love like trying to have the high level definitions. There's an ongoing, in the same way that you might do wiki gardening, there's an ongoing gardening and maintenance of all of the step definitions and the language and so on to try and make it unconfusing. So should I just create a quick ticket there since I have my hands on the thing? So this is like refactoring step definitions related to login/sign up to avoid ambiguity. And so we've got a ticket, and you can maybe put more details in there, Xiaohong, about your thoughts on what might change.
Yeah. Okay.
I wonder if we can quickly find even to your pull request. I think we merged it in already.
Yeah.
And then I'll go close. I should have clicked on Xiaohong there, shouldn't I? There we go. Was the one. So, and I ideally, what we do is that if we is we kind of try and get that into the ticket there. Anyway, so that's at least connected up and find those different things. So, well, that brings us to, yeah, this one. You make a good point, Xiaohong, that I think Pivotal Tracker probably does not reflect the state of the code base. Clearly, ideally, it would. I guess we've got what we would ideally, I guess they're like, you know, ideally it matches. Things that might help it match are regular review and cleaning, which we've done occasionally. Go on, Brent.
Yeah, I had a thought about this, and I've not suggested it because it is quite a drastic thought, but I find that Waffle works better, especially with the integration. So one of the things I was sort of thinking to myself is, would it be better for us to create a new Waffle board and then literally go through all the Pivotal Tracker, put the relevant tickets into Waffle, and then just move into using Waffle? It's just a consideration. It is quite drastic, but I just find that the workflow seems to work better in Waffle. Yes,
I very much hear that. We did previously do that with Website 1. It was originally in Pivotal Tracker, and we migrated it to Waffle.
Yeah,
and yes, I
mean, I'd be happy to start doing it, but I just think it is a lot of work. But I think once it's done, I think we'll be in a better place of understanding what's outstanding, what needs to be done, etc.
Yeah, there are so many things that I could say, but I won't because I'm always talking. Xiaohong, are you familiar with Waffle?
Yeah.
Do you have a preference for Waffle or Pivotal, and any thoughts on Brent's suggestion for switching over?
I think either works fine. I don't have a preference.
Okay. Yeah. I like both. There are some things I particularly like Waffle for, and there are some things that I actually do prefer Pivotal for.
Yeah.
And yes.
I mean, you could do the same thing with Pivotal, but it's the case of like starting a fresh project in Pivotal maybe, and then.
Oh, okay. That's another.
I just think there's a lot of noise in this current project, and I think if we just move things into the new one, it's
right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's another excellent suggestion. Yes. Yeah, gosh. So I'll mention one thing I think that relates to this issue that is a problem for, I think, both Waffle and Pivotal, or indeed any of these things, is that whatever ticketing system we use, there are tickets. We have fresh people coming in to the projects, whether it's website one, LocalSupport, what have you. And I think the particular challenge is how to ensure that work by new people is marked as closed, when done, and that everyone understands the workflow.
Yeah, there's also another issue I've just thought about with Waffle. Waffle relies on the people being collaborators in the GitHub project, and for new people, we might not want to do that from day one. Yeah. There's that's a fair point. Yeah.
There are swings and roundabouts. Yes. It's the particular thing that I think both of you have got now. You're fairly cognizant of is this process that we have of connecting the ticket, so that it's basically in the commit messages, and I think we've got one in. If I search on the story ID here for this one, yeah. So as you like, there's if we can get people to consistently, add this, that it means that when we merge their ticket, automatically the Pivotal Tracker ticket goes. I think this connection is easier in Waffle because it just relies upon the GitHub tickets, and in fact, actually, you don't even need Waffle. You can just be in kind of using GitHub issues. And so that it's slightly, but even then, in the projects where we do use Waffle, we still have people failing to put fixes cache the ticket number in there. So it's kind of still not perfect.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. You were saying, Xiao Hong, that you moved a ticket to accepted. So it's okay. So it's one that you. Shall we just check the particular? Which one was it that you moved over?
It was a dependent boat failure, so it was about to bundle update some kind of gem.
Oh, okay.
And it was owned by Sigul.
Oh, okay. Right. The
first one.
The upgrade Lufa gem.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. Yes. Okay. Yes. No. And so in the context here of a chore, that's perfectly reasonable. It just gets marked as done. I mean, I guess that the only pause I would have there is that, if we've upgraded a gem, if it hasn't got into the master and been, actually deployed, but that's fine. I think for a chore, if the that's fine. I mean, the only other thing, if we can identify the pull requests and the actual bit of Git code, it would be great to do that. What if I click that? What does actually happen? Oh, right here, pull request. Oh, it kind of goes there and authorizes a client. Oh gosh, Right. So there's like another level of integration there that we haven't got enabled. I try to trust, but what I would also say is Pivotal Tracker seems to be more performant than Waffle in my experience. Like Waffle sometimes has, I think because it's using the GitHub API on the top of it. And so now search for a pull request. Can I look for Lufa? Yeah, or Sigu. Yeah. But though, yeah, if we could, oh, that's interesting. I haven't used that before there. But so, yeah, again, in this thing, it's like for a simple upgrade of a gem, it's probably pretty trivial. If you do find things that seem like they're fixed, and it looks like, in fact, there's even a, that's an example from a different repo about how it could be fixed. Anyway, it's probably not worth worrying about too much. But Jiahong, absolutely, thank you for getting this out of the way so that it's not appearing in the backlog. That reduces confusion. So that's good. So we've got some interesting some suggestions there, which are fresh project in PT, moving to Waffle, and in the ideal world, you're so regularly moving through and reviewing everything that you get that sorted out. We're kind of coming up on, I guess.
Yeah, I think on that point, there's lots of duplicates in there. I mean, just for the one that I've done yesterday for the GitHub, the Google Analytics, I think there's 3 or 4 tickets. I've started them all, but
yeah. So there's a clear action item that I can spend more time on than cleaning the board. I mean, I think it's definitely all hands on deck. We can sort of consider some of the other options. I guess. Do you, Jiahong? You sort of brought this up. Any other thoughts on this?
Which one?
Well, just
moving Waffle.
I mean, you brought this up as an issue that it's a problem that when PT doesn't reflect the state of the code base. We've got various solutions we've talked about, which is like that might help, which include moving to Waffle, opening a new PD project, or just spending more time cleaning the board, or trying to better educate people about how to keep the board up to date. Do you have any thoughts on which solution is preferable, or any other solutions, or any other ideas?
Well, it's clearly is going to be a problem if a ticket is done, but not moved to accepted. So because people tend to find the work to do from the Pivotal Tracker or Waffle, so it's going to be a waste of time if the ticket was already solved. Right?
Absolutely. So totally agreed. That's the problem. Any preference for the kind of solution or suggestions of good ways to solve this problem?
Yeah, I think maybe it's a special case for this particular for the update ticket because maybe it was fixed unintentionally by someone else.
Maybe.
Right?
Sure.
But in general, I think it's less likely to happen for other kind of tickets.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm just thinking about our remaining time. There's GDPR, which could be a whole separate conversation. I've basically got an ongoing conversation with the client about that, which I need to follow up on. And so basically, I think I won't bother us in the meeting about it. Yeah, you're working on that ticket for the events, and that's you're not blocked there, so that's fine. I guess the only I'm reminded just that Nick was talking about wanting things to do. I thought we'd asked him to work on this one, and he's forgotten that, so I'll mention that to him. I'm pairing with him later today, so we'll talk about that. I guess maybe is the sensible thing to leave it there for the meeting. I'll I can take a bit of time to go through the board now and just try and check that we've got. I think that's probably the way to go. Rather than, I mean, we could be all looking through the board in parallel, and that's sometimes helpful. But I think, given the time, maybe we'll break there, and we can all take a little bit of look through the board independently.
Yep, works for me.
Yeah, excellent.
Cool.
Okay. I guess, yeah, so our schedule would be, we wouldn't meet again for another 2 weeks for this kind of meeting. If I'm pushing this project forward, I guess what I would do in the interim week, so this time next week, is try and arrange a meeting with the client. That's probably sensible. Some other projects are doing like pairing sessions in the off spaces. So yeah, if you two are free at this time next week, could be doing some impromptu pairing. Anyway, I know you're probably both busy with lots of other things. But yeah, any other final issues that we need to address before we close for the day?
No, just on the pairing. I do hope to start the weekly pairing sessions up again at some point when I can find the time. Sure.
No rush. It was wonderful when you were running them. But then if it's as and when, yeah, if you want to do them rather than making them weekly, make them bi-weekly and fit them in the off weeks.
Yeah, that works. Yeah,
that might be handy. Great. All right. Cool. Wonderful. Great to see you both. Yeah, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and see you again real soon.
Yep. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.